Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and it's that time of month again. So it's November 2023 and it's the colour combo. And the colour combo is something that Paula Keane and myself do in a Facebook group called Makers of Mixed Media Art and Artist Group. I will put that link below, and we do it on behalf of PM Artist Studio, which are these two lovely ladies, Patricia and Mariah. It's something I like doing. It's something I launch the colour combo every single month with a video, and this is a video for that month. I'll talk more about PM Artist Studio as we go along because I design stencils, masks and foam stamps for them. And if you watch to the end, if my memory serves me right, I will also drop in a discount code for you should you wish to order anything along the way. So the way it works is each month we announce two, sometimes three, and I think in 2024 is going to be three colours, and you're allowed to use black. I'm using Mars Black. You're allowed to use white. You're allowed to use a metallic, so I'm going to use deep gold. But then the colours that are listed for this month are a deep purple. Well, I've got dioxazine purple. I've got shuttle art bluish purple. I've got Windsor violet, and I've got ultramarine violet. So those are the brands of purple I've got. Now what we say here is we don't really want people to go out and spend any extra money. Use what you've got. If you don't have purple, then make it. I'm sure you've got red and blue. Mix red and blue and get somewhere near purple, and that's okay with us. And the other colour for this month is teal. So I happen to have teal shuttle art, which is like almost a glaze, and then I've got dark teal in Arteza. So those are what I'm going to be working with. I'm quite excited because look at this. Is this not just Halloween, not Halloween, New Orleans, Mardi Gras? It looks like jesters and harlequins, and that links me very nicely to what I'm going to be using. Okay, I have designed in the past this, which is Hopeless Harlequin, which is a stencil which you can see I use extensively. It comes in three different sizes, and I'm probably going to be using the big one. Funny, it's already purple. I'm probably going to use the big one on here because I absolutely love this stencil. One of my favourite designs, and it's mine. And also, I ordered and recently received, these are meant for ATCs, and they're stencils that give you these individual designs, and I ordered them. They're from Darcy Sanders, and I ordered them, and I want to use them on this because I want to give almost like an oldie worldy wallpaper scenario. So I'll choose one, maybe I'll choose two, I'm not sure, of these to go with them as long as I'm using everything. So anyway, there'll be a link to Darcy's set and there'll be a link to my set there, and as I said, watch out for the discount code at the end. Now, I am going to be using my gel plate for this, purely because, for me, it's the easiest thing to use when I'm creating a 12 by 12 background. I'm going to be creating one background. It's 250 GSM cardstock, and it's white. It's a 12 by 12. I've got a second one here, which, if there's anything interesting on my plate, I'm going to pick it up with. So, I also have tissue paper here, which I'm going to be using to clean up as well. This is Carnival tissue paper. It's wet strength tissue paper. I believe it's manufactured here in the UK, which is where I get it from. It's not the cheapest tissue paper in the world, but it comes in such large bundles and such big sheets that, heck, I bought a bundle of it about 2 years ago and I'm still working my way through it. So it depends. Per sheet, I think it's a good investment, and you get much better results than you do with gift wrap tissue if you're working with a lot of wet mediums. The one thing I will say, however, is if you're working with acrylics onto gift wrap tissue paper and then you collage that onto something with a wet medium, you're going to find that the tissue paper will go transparent. If you're using wet strength tissue paper, so I'm just working a few bubbles out. If you're using wet strength tissue paper like the Carnival I just showed you, if you're putting your tissue designs onto a collage, you will always be able to see the tissue outline. Okay, just the only caveat. Right, so I want to get on. I can't remember who requested this colour combo actually. I wonder whether I've got it written down. Give me 1 second. Let me have a little look in my book. I might have it written down. Bree Snyder, B-R-I Snyder. I believe this was your request. So I don't actually make the color combos up myself. I let my subscribers suggest them, and it's a bit of a challenge for me to work with them because they're not always my color palette. Although this month, very much my color palette, and I'm happy about it. Right, I want to put down a very pale background here, and I want a pale background so that I'm not just having white card exposed. So I'm going to come in. Now, the reason you have black and white in your selection is that you can actually use them to make tints and shades, lighten and darken. You know exactly what I mean. I can add white to any of them to make a different value of that color. So I want to get this, and I want it not perfect. I really want to just get something on here that I can pick up to just start the process off. And I think that's probably going to be enough. So I'm just laying my 12 by 12 down. Now I do have a barren. This is a barren. A barren is just a tool to help smooth things out. I like it because I've got big hands. This is a big barren. Also, there's weight in this, so when I'm smoothing stuff out, I'm not pressing down because I'm of a certain age here, and I was finding with the amount of gel printing I was doing, I was beginning to get the odd pain in my wrist, and this has saved me from that. So this is made by someone called Anthony Cody from Cody Woodcrafts on Etsy. So if you'd like one, let me know, and I will. Actually, I might try and put a link to his store in my description box below. I'm not 100% good at putting links to Etsy in my description box. I really struggle for some reason. My system doesn't seem to like it. Right, just coming in to make sure everything else is picked up, and I don't mind picking up a little bit of the surplus. Now, I've got over here a 5x7 plate, which I tend to use as one would use a paint palette. So that's where you're going to see me mixing a lot of my paint. That's where you'll see me brayering, and this is a brayer, brayering stuff out purely because if I go straight onto my plate, sometimes I get blobs all over the place. Okay, that was what I wanted. I wanted something that's just got a hint. Now, there are no rules to the color combo. There are, however, guidelines. Basically, if deep purple and teal are the featured colours or the colours for the colour combo, then these need to be featured in the top layer, as in when you look at the piece, these two colours should jump out at you as being the main featured item. They can be used anywhere else in it, but I wouldn't expect, if I did that, to have this almost gold. You'll see what I mean as I go along. Right. Over to my side here, I've got loads of music paper, and I'm just going to start brayering off on the music paper. And I use music paper in my collage work, so having some painted collage papers would be really nice. Right, before I get started, I want to come in and I want to put something into the background, and I think I want to come in with my Hopeless Harlequin stencil, which is this one. And what I want to do is I want to come in and I just want to put some down on here, and then I'm going to remove the stencil and pick it up in patches on there. And what I want to do is I'm going to mix in the black with a little bit of, let's see, that's the shuttle art one. I'm going to mix it in with a little bit of the dark teal. So it's not black, it'll be a shaded version of the dark teal. So you can see there, it's not a true black now. And I'm just going to come in, and I don't want a perfect impression. I'm literally just brayering over. I have in my mind, how do I describe this? I have in my mind that I want this to be like old wallpaper you'd probably find on the wall in New Orleans. That's kind of where I'm going with this thought. Right, I need to put a bit of tissue on there to clean up that, because that can be doing that while I'm working on the next bit. any tissue I pick up with definitely gets used in my collage work. So I'm going to lift this off. I'm just going to turn it over and just lay it down on my brayer off sheet and see if it transfers anything over. Black dries quite quickly. Not much, but there you go. Right, so I've got that on there. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to use what I call a kissing technique. I'm literally going to come in and lift sections of it off. And I don't want too much of it because I don't want it to overpower. Oh, I want a little bit more down there. Just by there. Okay, so we've started. Now things will get pushed back and forth into the background. This is the cleanup sheet here, so we'll get pushed back and forth into the background and then pulled forward. It's all about the layers when it comes to using gel printing for me. It's all about the layers. So there you go, that just started to build that up. I'm not bothered what it looks like at this stage. In the future, it could become anything. It may become a gel print in itself in the future. So just building up layers on that one. That's the one that we're not interested in. Now I'm going to clean this off because I don't want black contaminating anything else I do. I'm also going to clean my brayer. I know lots of people don't clean their brayer, but I find that one colour will easily contaminate another colour, and I'd rather it didn't do that. So there you go. So that's an interesting piece of something that I can use for collage later. Let's just clean this off. Right. So I now want to come in, and what I'm going to do is I'm now going to knock this back. And by knocking it back, I'm going to put a layer of white on. Not a huge layer. I just need a bit so I can pick up. And I'm going to use this to knock what's on that piece of paper into the background. So again, it's there. Some people often say, and they say it with abstract art, they say it with collage art, why do you put something down if you're just going to cover it up? It's all just part of the process, guys. It's all part of the process. See, you can still see it. It is still there. But it's not on your face. So there you go. See, it's still in there, and I'm just going to pull this piece in again and just lift this off here. So my whole thing will be going back and forth from pulling and pushing the designs and colours forwards and backwards. When I get a nice enough background, I'm then going to move away from the gel plate. Gosh, this gel plate's sticky today. I'm going to move away from the gel plate, and then I'm going to sponge some of the designs in. See, that's looking lovely. Right. Now, I did want to bring in my plastic palette knife. There you go, because I want to give this a bit more of a different effect than I normally do. So I'm going to come in with a little bit of the dark teal. Only a little bit, don't need a lot. And I'm also going to come in with the shuttle art teal. Now, I've never used these colours before. I just bought a box of these with different colours, and I'm excited to see what they do. Now, they are a metallic, as you can see, but I'm not classing it as my metallic because it also falls into the category of the colour teal. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to just work this onto here, and I want it to look, as I said, old and weathered. I'm looking for something that isn't perfect. Right, and once I've got it all on, and I'm using a plastic palette knife because I seriously do not want to injure my gel plate. So now I've got that on, I'm going to come in and I've got like a store card, and I'm just going to work it so that it's a lot less than it was when I first put it on there. But I'm trying to create interest in here. Now, Some would say this is mark making, and I would probably say that as well. I'll wipe off the excess there. Right, now I've got a good coating on it, I'm going to subtract from it, and I'm going to use the thinner edge, and I'm just going to come in and subtract some of this away. So it's very much a push and pull action here. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the handle of a paintbrush, find a paintbrush, and I'm going to do some marks on here, literally scoring it through, just so that there's stuff that's building up. Now, while this is down here, it's drying, and I'm using that to my advantage, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that when I pick this up, I don't pick it all up. So I'm going to lay down my piece of 12 by 12. Now I'm just lightly skimming over the top. I'm trying to make sure that the areas that look like they've got bubbles in them are pressed down. And this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create something that's got that oldie worldy look to it. So I've gone quiet because I'm concentrating. Right, loving that. So I've now got movement in here. This is really plain, so I'm going to come in, and this palette over here is looking really quite interesting as well. So I'm just going to tap that on there to pull up pieces of it. And if I pull them up in different directions, it won't be noticeable that it's the same piece. Which is the last of it off there. So there you can go. You can now see all the way through to the back layers that are in there and all the way through to the front. So that's becoming interesting. That's also interesting. So I'm just going to use that as a cleanup here. Not sure how much of that's going to get pulled up because, as I said, it's already drying. There you go, little bits, that's fine. Right, I don't need to clean that, and I don't need to clean that. I do need to clean this, however, or else I'll be forever trying to scrape that off my plastic palette knife and off my little scraper. So let's see where we're up to. So I've got the teal on there. I do want to bring in the gold, yes, the rich gold at some point, and the rich gold is going to be used for a stencil later on, but I would quite like to put some on there now. Now, what's the other colour? I don't see a lot of purple on here, so I think we need to add some purple. Now, I'm not great at using this stuff. I always either put too much or too little, and that's what happens to me. It bubbles out. So I'm just going to be cautious. I love this because, as you can see, it's transparent, which means it won't cover up everything that's underneath. And again, I don't want everything covered. I'm just doing bits of it just to build up sections of that colour on there. There's a little bit over there. So we'll look at that in a second because I just want to get the rest of this braid out and I can pick it up on my other sheet. Now I don't have plans for this 12 by 12. I'm not going to cut it up, not currently. It could become a journal cover at some point. I wouldn't be at all surprised if I don't make it to a journal cover or maybe a planner cover for my planner, because I make my own inserts for my traveler's notebook, my Midori. See, so this one's taken on the characteristics of that as well. I'm liking where that's going. Now I'm going to be viewing this in this orientation because that's where the diamonds are lined up for me. I mean, you could have it that way, but for some reason the diamonds just look right in that orientation, and that's probably because I designed the stencil. So for me, that's the correct way. Right, so I'm going to come in again with a little bit of the white, only a little bit this time. I'm going to do that kissing technique again, just to push it back one more time. And then we'll take a look and see where we're up to as to what I feel needs doing. Well, that's getting interesting. Oh, a little bit of white in that corner too. Right, let's pull in the other one. This one is basically just going to pick everything up that's left on the plate. So while that's thinking about itself, let's pull this in and take a real look. So we're building up a really good foundation here. It's very, very much multi-layered. I will come in a bit and I'll probably re-establish some of the other elements, but I think we're probably getting close to the fact that I'm going to start diverting away from the gel plate. Probably in a few minutes. There's a few things I think I want to put into this that are not in there yet. So let's lift this off. See, that's becoming interesting as well. So I do want to put stuff into here. I want to put some lines in here. I'm wondering what colour the lines should be. Maybe in black, I think. Now I've got a bit of white on my brayer, which has been brayered off, but I know that the moment I start mixing this on the plate, it's going to pick those up. I think I'm going to pull in my favourite all-time piece of corrugated card and put some lines on here. And this is just packaging, guys. So I'm going to try and be very much vertical and horizontal with these lines. I don't want to do diagonals. I very rarely do diagonals. I've done them, but I cannot say there's something that I reach for very often. That's kind of working for me. I want a little bit up here, I feel. Maybe a little bit by there. Right, let's pull this out the way. Push it up to the top. Let's bring in our sacrificial piece, should we say. Let's just put some on here. And if I do it in two different directions, of course, I get a grid. Get the rest of that off there. It didn't actually white out as much as I thought it was going to, but I'm okay with that. I'm quite happy with where we're at the moment. So you don't have to buy a whole load of expensive stuff to be doing stuff like this. I mean, I'm using a gel plate, but you know what? You could quite easily be brushing these colours on with a paintbrush or a baby wipe or anything along those lines. Okay, I think I just want something in the middle because I always seem to forget the middle. Right, so that's there. Let's get this off that plate over there, because otherwise I'll be stuck with it there and I have to clean it thoroughly. So, right, well, that's having a bit of a soak in. So we're getting there with this. Right, so we've already got the colours in there. I'm hanging back on putting the metallics in just yet, which is fine. I want to put in these elements. I'm going to choose one, as I said, might choose one, might choose two to put in there, but I want to go, with these I'll probably go white, or I'll go very, very pale lilac or something. And I'm just thinking, what do I want on there for the moment? Right, so I've got lines. I'm wondering whether I want any sort of circle at all. I do like my odd circle. Actually, there's a register insert. It's a bit smaller. I like the thinness of that one. This one sometimes is a bit dominating. I quite like that one. So I also want to use the shuttle art, the turquoise, the teal as a glaze, and I want to use the purple one as a glaze. Now, I've already got the purple one in the background, but I'd quite like to add some of this. So I think before I do the circles, I'm just going to add a bit of this onto here. Now, I'm just going to put it on directly with the brayer. And this should add, when it dries, a sheen to it. Don't know if you can see that in that light. Just get the other one in here and just pick up whatever's left. I do find, from what I've heard from others, that the shuttle art, the shiny metallics work best on black. And I did find that. I mean, when I first got the shuttle art stuff, I did go through and I swatched, because that's my nature. And as you can see, these are all the colours. I swatched them on the black and I swatched them on the white, because I like to see what the colours are going to work. So that was the whole set that I got. So I was very excited about those. Right, so where are we up to with this? I'm okay with where we're at the moment. I've not lost anything, quite happy. We've got hints of black in there. I think I want, as I say, I've got the stencil pieces to put in there in white. I'm wondering. Now, the criteria was teal. It didn't say dark teal. It just said teal. So I'm wondering whether I can come in. Let's take some of the dark teal. Just a little bit. I don't need a huge amount. With some of the white. Let's just, actually, it's just mixed it with my fingers. I know, mucky fingers. There you go. And I'm just going to come in with the end. This was the insert of like a cash register roll. And it'll just be subtle enough to be in here, because as you can see, it's almost the same color as the background. Right, that's cool, I like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to one side. I want to just have a think for a second. Now, this is quite raised because obviously there's a thickness of paint on it. And I think what I want to do is I want to come in and lift that thickness of paint off, because otherwise I'm going to have to stop the video and dry it, which I don't particularly want to do. I'd rather keep on going. So if I just come in like this, it'll just lift the excess paint off, as you can see. And it might transfer it to other areas, but that's okay with us. Right, loving that so far. Right, now, I need to think. I want the gold on here and I want Darcy's white on here. I think I want to do the gold next. So I'm going to... Now, do I want to sponge it through? Yes, I think I do. Right. So I've got my stencil here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, this is just a jar of packaging sponge that I keep on hand. We had our kitchen done probably about, would be a year ago now? I can't remember. It seems like ages. I can't remember. And what they did was they had all this packaging they were going to throw in the trash. And I'm like, I don't think so. Really? You're not going to put that in any bin of mine. I'm going to have that. So I now have a huge supply of packaging sponge, which is lovely. So I'm just taking the sponge, I'm tapping it on and tapping it off. I don't want a thick amount of paint under here. And that is because if there's a thick amount of paint, what's going to happen is it will go under the stencil. And this is my Hopeless Harlequin stencil, if I didn't already mention that. I will put a link to this and Darcy's stencils in the description box. As I said, I'll give you a discount code at the end as well. So see, that's just giving me something absolutely beautiful, which I wanted. Now, I do have a habit of putting stuff in the same corners at the same time on every single piece I do. So please forgive me for that, because that's just, it's the way my brain functions. My brain likes things organized, it likes things methodical, and that's what it does to me. So I will always tend to put stuff there, and stuff here. I try to mix it up, but before I know it, I've gone back to doing it the way I've always done it before. So just know that it isn't intentional, it just happens. But I like the results, so there you go. Right, so that's given me some subtlety in the background. Okay, I like that. I feel that needs a little something there, though. I'm lacking in the center. I tend to do that a lot. I tend to work around the edges because I'm scared of not putting stuff around the edges. And then what do? I forget the center. So I'm just going to line that up again there and just extend this piece across. This sponging also gives me an extra texture. It also gives me a blended out effect. Right, that's already done. Let's just move you out the way a second, because you're going to need a second to dry. Now what I'm going to do on this one is I'm just going to come in with the brayer and put some into it, because as we know, this is the clean-up one. And then I'm just going to flip this over and see if I can get anything off the stencil itself, because this will probably be the last time I use this stencil in this project. There you go, just a little something. And we'll take my clean off sheet, pick up the excess gold. It's funny, sometimes when I'm doing these, I end up liking these more than I like those. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Now, with these bits of sponge, I could actually wash this just by putting it in a bowl and giving it a few squeezes. I will probably just get a pair of scissors and just snip off the bit I've used, and therefore I've got more to use for the future. And I'm going to need that again in a few minutes anyway for another colour. So I just want to make sure that I'm sticking to the brief. So the brief is deep purple. We've definitely got deep purple in here, and teal. And I can see teal. The deep purple could probably do with a little bit more presence. And I think we might do the deep purple last. What I want to do is just dry. It's probably not dry. I think I'm going to pause you for 2 seconds because I want to dry this off, because if I'm going to lay these stencils over the top of this, these will stick to this and then start pulling layers of paper up. So I'm going to pause you for 2 seconds. Well, it's 2 seconds for you anyway. And I'm just going to go in and I'll get rid of the gel plate because we're done with the gel plate now anyway. I'll keep this one because I'll use it as my palette, and I'll get all of this dry. So here we are, back again, loving where this is going. I'm now going to start sponging in the white using these damask set of 9. I need to work out which one I really like. I like them all, but which one I like for this design. Right, don't want circles. That looks a bit like a scary face. That's too open. So if I just put these down, if I limit, that one's probably calling to me most of all, or that one's calling to me. Right, so I'm going to be putting white through these, so that's quite... And I only want to use one of them, I've decided. Not that one. Don't ask me why I'm choosing the ones I'm choosing, guys. It's just... I think it's going to be this one. This is lovely, but I think that's too big of a design. If you look the two of them next to each other, that's slightly smaller, so right. So love these, and the reason these are called ATCs is because these are made to be used on an artist trading card. So if I was creating an artist trading card, and here is an artist trading card, it would fit onto an artist trading card. An artist trading card is 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. It's a miniature piece of art, basically, that can be made in any medium, and people swap them, people collect them. I've got quite a collection myself. So that's where the term comes from. Also, what I discovered is, as I was drying this, I put a hairdryer on this once I'd removed the gel plate, obviously. I was looking around my room and I forgot I had these. Now, these are one of my latest releases and they're called Border Builders. So that's one set, which is 4 stamps. That's 4 different stamps, 4 different stamps, 4 different stamps. But look at that. That little diamond there is going to fit perfectly in here, and I think I'm going to use that to put the dark purple on here at the end. So this is Border Builders. I will put a list in the description box of those as well, or a link at least, just so you know where they are. So right, I now want to use white, and I'm going to try and not so much line them up, but they need to be as if it was wallpaper. And that's why I keep saying wallpaper, because that's where my brain has gone with this. So, right. Let's pull up an area. I need a smaller piece, I think. That feels just a little bit too large for what I need. Maybe cut that one in half. I don't want to go over the edges. That's why I'm trying to work out a smaller surface to work with. And of course, it's free sponge, free packaging, and I can do anything I want with it. So take a scissors to it. Right. Let's start down by here, because I know that I want a piece there anyway. So I'm just come in, dab on, dab off, and come down. And I'm just, some people call this pouncing. I just call it dabbing. I know Patricia from PM Artist Studio has got her own word for it, which is the correct word, I know, but we all have our different terminology. There you go. See, that's exactly what I want. So if this was wallpaper, the pattern would be repeated above and below it. But because I want it to be worn wallpaper, as in worn out, it doesn't have to be perfect in every section I do it. So if I've just dabbed a little less there, which I have, then this edge is a bit faded. And I'm going to come down here. I'm going to do it coming off the page. Right, I'm going to come in now. Normally, if the pattern is there on wallpaper, it will be up slightly, but I have to be careful that actually spacing is correctly. So if that's there, I'm going to have to be a bit careful here, because I don't want it to not be balanced. And by balanced, I mean as a design. Again, as I said, doesn't have to be perfect every time. So I'm now spacing it so that it's lining up there and it's in the gap there. You may notice I start pouncing or dabbing on the expanse of space around the stencil aperture. And these stencils are made from Yupo, which is a plastic-based. It is recyclable, however. I think it's called 100% polypropylene, I think is what it is. I'm really bad at those big names, guys, so if I got it wrong, it might actually be written on one of the packaging. I'll just have a look for you. So there you go. I'm going to come up again. Yeah, I have got the spacing right. A little relieved at that. Now, I'm not being incredibly picky that it's horizontal and vertical. I'm not going to come in with a ruler, because back in the old days, some of the wallpapers were actually hand block printed, which once you put a human into the mix, then there's always the potential for slight errors, which I think make things a lot more interesting than machine-made stuff. Right, coming in for the last one. I quite like it to be there. Sorry, sometimes, guys, I do talk to myself, but I think we all do when we're in our own creative space. I find that if I actually say my thoughts out loud, it actually helps me focus my thinking. Hopefully that makes sense. Right. I'm running out of white paint, but I don't want to reload the sponge. And as I said, I don't mind if things are slightly faded. Right, now this will go straight into a bowl of water, and what it will do is if I don't wash this stencil, the little tiny apertures will start to build up with paint, so you do have to be a bit careful about that. So because I'm filming, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this here on a bit of kitchen paper. I'm going to spritz it with water. I'm just going to fold that over and spritz it again, and that will just keep it moist for me while I finish filming, because there's no way I'm going to stop filming unless I absolutely have to. So, right. So, we've achieved everything. Now, I just want to put some of the dark purple back in, because I think the dark purple is the thing that's missing now. I quite like the way we've got the teal in here, but the dark purple, and I'm going to use the Winsor Newton, the Winsor Violet, which is a really, really deep purple. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to stamp almost where you see the black diamonds in the background. Do you remember the very first layer, or sorry, not the very first layer, the second layer we put in, which were these black pieces? I'm now going to use those as a guideline to put the little stamp on, because the stamp is almost exactly the same size as those diamonds. So just going to brayer my acrylic ink, paint out, give it a few dabs, just so it's loaded up, and then I'm going to come in now. I can obviously go over the gold as well. I don't want to go over the purple design, because the purple design is the top layer. I have a habit of twisting this. It's weird. I don't consciously do it. I struggle getting it to be a straight vertical up and down, and that's me. That's just totally on me. Okay, I think I'm okay with that. Right, I'm going to dab this off, stamp it off for my excess, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this under here as well, just so it also stays damp, because if the paint actually sets on my stamp, first of all, it's going to be hard to get it off. Well, I wouldn't get it off. It would be on there. And then what would happen is over time, it would build up, and I don't want that to happen. Right, let's pull in our spare one. And I'm just going to use that bubble wrap just to pick this stuff up and just stick it on here. Now, I didn't do any of the damask pieces on here, because my intent is that this isn't actually going to be a background. It's literally going to be a clean-up sheet. Now, in the future, it could end up as a background, but I don't need to spend the time putting the damask pieces on here, because it could come in with another character and totally when I've actually finished working with it. I mean, I could come in here quite easily and put another colour over the top of this. Right, I think that's enough of that. So let's take a look and see if there's anything about this that I actually think I need to change. Right, the brief was, get that off of there for a start. Right, the brief was deep violet or deep purple. I've got deep purple and teal. Teal is obviously in there. Black, we do have black in here. I don't need black to be dominant. There is black in here, little bits here and there. White is definitely on there because of Darcy's fabulous stencil. And then we've got metallic, which is the gold. If there's anywhere that's bothering me, it's this area here. A little touch of white. A little touch of the teal. And I just want to mix that up to make myself a lighter colour. Right. What I'm thinking is if I bring this back in, I could blend out some of those areas with the lighter teal. Now this could be a mistake. Might be a mistake, but everything is a learning experience. Yeah, I may have to rectify it in some way, but I'm okay with that because I believe I can rectify it if I think it needs rectifying. Right, so that's knocked it back a bit. I'm wondering whether I want to put some final pieces of black onto it, just to... So I was just cleaning off on that. A final bit of black on there, just to give it something. What have I got that will be really subtle? Okay, I've got this. This is a bit of plastic mesh. You've seen me use it before, and I know that it gives really, really fine lines. Now I do have, myself, I've designed a mesh foam stamp. I think it might even be called coded mesh or something like that. I'm terrible with product names. I name these things and completely forget them. But I think the mesh would be too much for it. So if I pick that up, okay, that's having a better effect. Sorry, gone quiet again, I know. It's that total concentration thing. There are times when I do concentrate, and when I do, I tend to go very, very quietly. Okay, I think up here, actually, I just need to spread it a bit to over there. Right, I think I'm going to stop there, because I'm at the point where I could suddenly go completely bad and I destroy the whole thing. So I'm just going to put that on there a second and take it out of the shot so you guys are not looking at the mess. So, what do I feel about this? Well, for a start, I feel I've put paint all over my white surface again. I can clean that up later though. I like that. I like the fact when I create something like a background, I really like it when you have to look into a background. It's like when I look at abstract art, I like to look at abstract art that takes you in. Like, you look at this and you see these, but then you look further and then you see these. You look further and then you see the gold. If you look further, you see the shadows in the background. You see the lines, you see the mesh. And I love that. I think that was a good job done. I just got a little bit of paint on there. Just want to calm that little bit of white down. It was just, don't know why it was annoying me, but it was. There's probably nothing left on this mesh now. There you go. Right, so I think I'm going to say we're done. So that was the November Challenge 2023. As I said, there will be links to all of the products I mentioned or I used as far as stencil stamps and masks will be in the description box. The link to the Facebook group, which is Makers of Mixed Media Art and Artists group, I will put a link to that. You will have to answer 3 questions again to the group. It's well worth it, and they're really simple questions, and it's a wonderful, wonderful community of like-minded artists, all willing to support and help each other. And it's a platform to actually everyone from a beginner to an absolute professional. It's an area where you can grow and be supported, and I love that. PM Artist Studio do lives 4 times a week on the YouTube channel. Just look up PM Artist Studio, the YouTube channel. They do have other ways on their site if you really want to support them, really look at them to actually get further discounts. I will leave that up to them to describe to you. Least one thing left for me to say, actually. Excuse my arm. If you order any products, and it doesn't have to be the products I use here, if you use this code at checkout, so it's Ceri Fan, type it in as you see it here, this will give you 10% off any orders over $35, I believe it is. So if you're shipping international, you know, having 10% off your order can sometimes really balance out the international shipping, but it's lovely to have 10% off anyway. Thank you to the guys at PM Artist Studio for letting me have that discount code for you. And I think all that's left to say now is goodbye. So let's move that out of the way because I don't want to put this on top of it. So I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time, goodbye now.